Alright, we are now on part 8.3. We're gonna work on the fiber shaders and the strands. Let's dive in. So let's display all objects. So that would be the strands to start, and let's launch a render. So the placeholder shader could be a good place to start. I'm actually gonna try to add some subsurface scattering, and so far the radius is way too high, so I'm reducing that to something around 0.1, and also gonna reduce the roughness in the reflection. Could also try some higher value for the IOR, so the more we increase it, the more it's gonna look metallic. So something around 2, not more than that, would work, I think. And right, the radius was still a bit too strong. Could try also to add some coating, which would be a secondary layer of specular. This time I'm applying a roughness of 0.4 so that we got a second kind of coat that looks a bit more rough. I'm gonna compare with the previous render. So with, without, it's pretty subtle, it's just a little more shiny. Okay, so the subsurface, we're gonna try some smaller values, and let's take a snapshot. You see how there is less diffusion inside the fibers. Okay, I'm thinking this value would work a little bit better. Something in between 0.02. So between 0.02 and 0.05, kinda prefer 0.02. Now we could add another layer of subsurface. Could also apply another color for it if we want. Let's compare. So it's bringing a very diffuse kind of blue. Could make it a bit sharper by reducing the radius. That's pretty subtle. I like it. So let's display the fibers now. I'm gonna crop just the interesting region. So they look pretty solid right now. I think using some refraction would be too expensive in terms of rendering time. So we're gonna work with Eris hair position. So this is actually pretty handy when we plug that into a ramp, because we can now apply different color based on the curve position. So in that case, the blue is going at the tip of the hair and the base is white. So it will help us to bring some more volume into this fiber, I guess. So I'm trying to find some colors that could be a bit more interesting. Maybe a brighter base. Alright, gonna play with the subsurface as well. So that's way too diffuse right now. Need to decrease the radius. So 0.05 seems pretty nice. Bring some nice transmission to this hair, some nice contrast. Let's see, maybe 0.01. It's a bit more subtle. I think I buy it more. Let's try a secondary layer as well with a different color. Let's make it sharper. So we now have like some electric kind of diffusion in this fiber. Could be interesting. Yeah, does the job, I think. So the roughness is at 0. Let's try to crank up the IOR. Okay, maybe we could reduce a bit the weight of the first layer. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Let's try and see on another section how it's looking. And on the whole model. So what stands out for me is that the hair is very bright compared to the rest. So we might need to decrease the luminosity of the diffuse color. So we're gonna reduce the brightness of those diffuse. And actually I'm gonna reset the weight to 1 for the first layer of SSS. I ended up with this result, and I think it's a bit more balanced in terms of values with the crystals if we compare before after. So I think I'm gonna keep that. So that's pretty much it. We're gonna spend some time in the next lesson to optimize some things, and yeah, we'll get ready to make a final render.